I'm just going through a quick example of a student's Pear Deck takeaway. This was from a writing assignment we had with persuasive writing, and they're working on their middle persuasive paragraphs. What I had them do is I had them write their middle persuasive paragraph into Pear Deck, and then I would go over those. They had to do with wearing school uniforms, kind of a generic topic there. And then after they were finished, we'd go through and I'd make comments. But then they, on the takeaway, they would make comments on what they should have done. And so for this student, I'll give an example. The first slide happened to be write the body from your persuasive, and then here was their response. This was in the actual Pear Deck. This is what they had put in. We did like a copy and paste from their Google Docs, so they didn't have to retype it the whole way. But then the student went back and they can make little notes right here about what they felt. And this student says, I went back and forth between two topics and restated the thesis. I needed to make a few adjustments that way. It is a better persuasive writing because it wasn't very good. Um, and so what they were able to see is that they shouldn't have been going back and forth between two different topics. At that point, they should have stuck to one topic with the uniforms. And then as you go on, in that Pear Deck, there was an example of how to write a body paragraph, and they responded of how they should be writing their body paragraphs. Now, this is a really good example of a student really reflecting. They really took the time to think about what they had done. And so that comes from a very good student. And then on their last paragraph, this is not as bad as the last one. It could use some evidence, though. I made the changes I did. That way my persuasive writing would look, sound, and be better. After watching the video, I better understood how to make persuasive writing better. Sometimes they write things that really aren't super important, but they did get the main point because I could use some evidence. They realized that even though they had a good paragraph, they didn't really back it up with a lot of evidence, and that they needed to include that evidence. And if you took the time to read what they wrote here, you would see that too, but I'm not going to hold you up. In the top box of every takeaway is a summary where they can summarize what they thought about the lesson, what they thought about what they need to do. This student says, I'm learning a lot about how to make a good persuasive writing. Things I have learned are like that you don't restate your thesis, and that you don't need to stay, or that you do need to stay on topic. Pick one thing and stick with it. Don't go back and forth between two topics. And so that just shows me that this student has learned just through the Pear Deck and through being able to reflect on their own writing. And so that's why I love the takeaways. I think they're great to use. I think it kind of puts the student in control of their learning a little bit more. And so that is why I'm very pro takeaway.